Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to today's opinions video. In this video, we're going to take a look at your thoughts, your theories, your questions, anything you've got to do with Raw. Not only that, I'm also going to share my thoughts as we're working our way through this, of course, and kind of around the midpoint, we will have a look at how you scored each of the matches this week on Raw. And we can see how they compare to every match from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, premium live events. You lot during the live streams have been voting. And so we've got all of those scores as well. And we've got the show score. So we can see how this Raw rates compared to every Raw, every NXT, every SmackDown from 2024 so far. So we've got a lot of data. We've got a lot of theories. We got a lot of questions. We got a lot of thoughts. This is pretty stacked, right? So if you are new to this opinions video, welcome. And hopefully we should find some really interesting thoughts and opinions. Let's start, shall we, with Billy, who asks, is Damian Priest cashing in on Gunther? Otherwise, what's the point in Money in the Bank? And it's weird because I actually think the other way. I think the other way because for me, I'm not a big fan on cashing in on mid-card titles. And when I say I'm not a big fan, I actually hate it because this is Damian's opportunity to get to the top of the card. This is his opportunity to become a world champion. We know how hard it is to get an opportunity to even fight for a world championship. You've got to win an elimination chamber. You've got to qualify for an elimination chamber. Then you've got to win an elimination chamber, or you've got to win a Royal Rumble, or you've got to have a podcast like Logan Paul. Like, there are lots of different ways that you can get a title opportunity. None of them are that easy. So I think for someone like Damian Priest, you know, he's looking at the likes of Sami, Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, like Sami Zayn. The list goes on and on and on and on. When does it become Damian Priest's time? Well, he's got Money in the Bank, and this gives him a massive opportunity. So for me, I always love how Money in the Bank takes a mid-carder and like really gives them a shot at being like a main event star. I really do love Money in the Bank for that. I think when the likes of Brock or someone like that wins Money in the Bank, I don't really like it because Brock gets opportunities anyway. I feel like that's just a waste. I much prefer it seeing it go on to a Damian Priest or an Austin Theory or a Liv Morgan. You know, I'd much rather it go to one of those guys that don't get title opportunities on a regular basis. So for me, he's just waiting for Seth to be medically cleared. Seth said he wasn't medically cleared. He should be soon, literally any day. And then I think we'll start seeing Damian trying to cash in. I reckon we could get an attempt this side of WrestleMania. There could be one at WrestleMania. There could be one on the Raw after WrestleMania. There could be one when we go to France for Backlash. So there's plenty of opportunity still. Plenty of opportunity. I really don't think him wasting this chance, this opportunity of him becoming a world champion, I don't think he should throw that away to just become like a mid-card champion. I really think that this is his key to the big time, and it's going to be very interesting as to when he cashes in and if he's going to be successful. And I suppose who he cashes in on, because there is a theory out there that Drew may win at WrestleMania, and before he gets a chance to celebrate, we see Damian come down and cash in and steal that moment away from Drew. So it could be he cashes in on Seth, could be that he cashes in on Drew, could be he cashes in on someone like Sami Zayn, because we don't quite know how all the cards are going to fall at the moment. So yeah, it's interesting. I would just stick with it. We know that Seth's injury has resulted in this being a little bit delayed. Hasib, shout out to you, said, I don't know about you, but the excitement and quality in Raw has died down since Punk got injured to me. I think that's a fair point. I think that Raw struggles because I just don't think the roster is that strong. I also think the extra hour hurts, but the roster is just weaker. Certainly in the women's division. If you look at the women's division, we're not drowning in big names. You've got Becky and you've got Rhea. Obviously, we brought Nia back, but it is a lot of people that are trying to establish themselves. It's a lot of people that have not quite made the name for themselves. And to be frank, they're not challengers or legit challengers for Rhea Ripley's title. I'd say the one person that stands out would be Raquel Rodriguez, but we know that she's been dealing with an illness. So she's not been around. So that makes it very difficult to kind of build up stories and build up stars and whatever. So I kind of feel like the women's division feels a little bit flat. The tag division has took a long time to build. We are getting somewhere, but it has took a long time to build, and it still feels like there's a hell of a distance to go. But we have made great strides there, you know, bringing up the likes of the Creeds, reforming DIY, obviously Imperium being around, New Day being around. Like, you can see that they're getting the pieces where they need to be, but still a bit of work to be done there. I'd say in the male division, the men's division, I think the stuff we've been doing with Gunther's been pretty good. There's a lot of challengers for Gunther, but Seth's injury has obviously been a big issue, as has CM Punk's injury. Cody winning the Rumble is brilliant, but his attention is now on Roman, who's on SmackDown, right? So it means that what he does on Raw is secondary. His main focus is a dude over on SmackDown. So I think there are quite a few reasons, like the 3 hours rather than the 2, the slightly weaker roster, the injuries. I think all of it has added up to where Raw maybe doesn't feel kind of as essential as what SmackDown can. You know, SmackDown really feel. I mean, like, take this Friday, for example. We got Rock and Roman on. I mean, SmackDown is unmissable. Absolutely unmissable. It doesn't really feel like we say that about Raw on a regular basis. So I don't disagree. I think there are reasons for it. I still think Raw is in an all right place. It's certainly not a dumpster fire or anything like that. Like, it's in an all right place. But definitely looking for more from Raw than what we got this week. Top Tier Wrestling said, love the serious New Day. Still one of the best teams in the world. The tag division hasn't been the same since they were left out the title picture. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. I mean, New Day, I think it was Big E that went onto social media after last night's Raw, and he was like, don't overlook the New Day. Like, really treasure these guys whilst you've still got them. And the New Day are really strange, aren't they? Because they really feel like they lost their identity. And, you know, when Big E left, they just couldn't find the same level of excitement, or I couldn't find the same level of engagement with them. But, yeah, you know, they've put on some really good matches recently. And as you said, maybe a little bit more of a serious edge to them. I'd like to see that evolve a little bit further, to be honest. But that tag division, it is improving, as we just said. And I think, like, you know, you fast forward 6 months, we could really be somewhere with it. Cameron said, thought this was really interesting. If you notice, Drew only wins pretty much off of other people interfering. He beat AJ to qualify for the Chamber due to LA. He beat Cody due to Solo. He won the Chamber due to Logan. And he'll win at WrestleMania due to the bloodline. That is interesting. He said he didn't want to win that way, didn't he? He was pleading with Seth last night to, please don't get involved. Please don't taint my victory. And Seth's like saying, you know, some things are worth taking the risk for. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that's how it goes. Is it going to be a case that the bloodline are going to interfere? There's probably a very good chance of it. Rancid Carbon said, I like that they've advanced many stories. I remember countless Raws in previous years where it just existed without any progress. That's a very fair point. Basilo Vernon said, Rhea versus Becky versus Nia, it just makes sense. That's interesting. I sort of feel like they're trying to get Liv in there. I wonder if it'll turn out to be a fatal four-way. A lot of people are thinking it could be a triple threat, but Nia certainly could find herself in the mix. So, I don't know. I don't know if you do a fatal four-way. It feels like Liv is going to get in there. She said her end goal her revenge tour stops at Rhea Ripley. So that is where she wants to get to. That Women's World Championship is what she wants. Now, whether we're just building her up for after WrestleMania and we're going to do Rhea Liv as the program after WrestleMania, or whether we get Liv into that match at WrestleMania, I think if you're a Liv fan, all the signs seem to be good that she is going to be a future opponent for Rhea, and she is gunning for that Women's World Championship. So, yeah, it could be that we get Rhea, Becky, Nia. It could be Rhea, Becky, Nia, Liv. It could be Rhea, Becky, Liv. I mean, they're all kind of circling around that belt at the moment. Brony said, I thought the show overall was flat. We had some decent moments, and I like how they're keeping us confused on who will face Gunther at Mania. But other than that, I'm struggling to find stuff I enjoy. The Drew promo was good as well. I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. I know it might come across like we're being like super critical, but this is WrestleMania season, and I think the quality of the Raws around this time, the expectation is that they do go up a level, and this felt like it was solid. Certainly felt like it had some good moments, and I feel like if we actually sit down and look at the talking points that came out, there was a fair few talking points. I would say this was a show that was worth watching. It wasn't a show that I would have said, like, you know, it was worth missing or skipping. I think there's enough that came out of it, but the expectation is what kills you, isn't it? Because it is WrestleMania season. You look at SmackDown, they've got Rock, they've got Roman. Like, they're building massive, massive things. You know, the Bayley EO story is very interesting over there. Obviously, the whole Bloodline situation is very interesting. And then you look at Raw, and it just does not feel the same. And it's also longer. So I don't disagree. I feel, though, that hopefully this was just a bit of a hangover from Elimination Chamber. I mean, don't forget, it is just, 48 hours or so after being in Australia. So hopefully next week we really get the show that we're after. So I've got high hopes for next week's Raw. That might be misplaced, but I've got high hopes for next week's Raw, and I've got massive hopes for SmackDown on Friday. So yeah, we're still eating good. Casual LA Night Enjoyer said the ending was very interesting. I don't know what it was, but I liked it a lot. And the tag match, New Day and Imperium, absolutely cooked. Yeah, do you know what? That ending was a bit of a surprise because they ended the main event match 10 minutes early. And then Heyman coming out with those cops, and what I tell you what it was really Cody just making a statement in saying that he's not going to back down. It's Heyman trying to get Cody to stop challenging The Rock. It's Cody saying, I'm not the one that's being hunted, I'm the hunter, I'm tired of being nice. I think it was development. That's what it was. It was a bit of development of the story. It's Cody digging his heels in. It's Cody saying, I'm sick with being nice. It's Cody saying, we were all fans of The Rock, but I'm tired of being nice. And I think it was just kind of letting us know where everyone stands before we get to that massive SmackDown. It feels like we were setting up SmackDown. That's what it feels like to me. But I can understand why it's like, I don't know why we did that. Because there wasn't loads to it. It was basically Heyman just saying, please take The Rock's freaking name out of your mouth, and Cody going, no. That's basically what it was. WWE Ethan said, I thought the show was really good with Seth McIntyre segment and building that feud. I didn't see the point in Becky getting involved in Liv versus Nia, but I guess it's building rivalry. Sami winning was good for his WrestleMania run. Well, I think Nia attacked a load of women last week before the Chamber, so you can understand why women would want some revenge on her. That's why we ended up getting Liv versus Nia. And I'm thinking this is why we also got Becky attacking. And Liv basically got upset saying, look, this isn't all about you, because technically Liv got DQ'd in that match because of Becky's actions. So I think what this is doing is building up some tension now between Becky and Liv. And actually it's pushing Liv a little bit further into kind of being not a heel, but getting attitude, I don't like Liv's watch me, right? I don't like that. I don't like her cry about it, watch me, all this kind of stuff. It just seems a bit weak, a bit lame to me. I'm really looking for her to have a bit of an edge. I'm looking for her to, you know, kind of stand up for herself. And so I liked it. I liked her getting angry at a baby face costing her, rather than just accepting it had happened. You know, she kind of got in her face backstage. This is why a lot of people are looking at it thinking, well, she's already got an issue with Rhea. If she's starting to get an issue with Becky now, you know, is this how we get to that triple threat? So there could be a reason for it. And I gotta say, I don't mind it. I don't mind Liv showing a bit of personality and showing, you know, something more than just saying, watch me. So I'm watching. I'm watching now. Ironically, now I'm watching. Because you're giving me something interesting to watch. Right. WWE Ethan, shout out to you, who also said about Sami winning was good for his WrestleMania run. It's interesting that we still don't know who's going to face Gunther, yet Jay, Chad, Gable, Dom, etc. The end segment was different, but good. Heyman with his 2 phones was different as well. Nia versus Becky rematch. Dominic versus Andrade next week looks good and exciting. Thanks, keep going. WWE Ethan, appreciate the support, dudes. Elia Punk said, since the Women's World Championship title picture isn't the biggest story on Raw, I don't mind it being a triple threat at all. And I don't think Becky is going to win at WrestleMania either way, if it's one-on-one or a triple threat. All I can see is Rhea retaining. I want Drew to recreate the Paul Heyman moment by entering the arena with CM Punk's music and trolling them. Okay. The Wrestling Visionary says, loved it. RDog7190 said, Daze, Raquel here, and Raw was good. It was about a 7 out of 10. The best segments were Becky and Rhea building up their rivalry to WrestleMania, and Cody sending a message saying he is the hunter, whilst the Bloodline are the prey. Also, Rollins mentioned the truth to take down the Bloodline was good. Also, Rollins mentioning the truth to take down the Bloodline was good. Got you. Big Mike Talk said was good, but it felt like it dragged a bit. Alan said it was a decent enough show, 7 out of 10. And I think that is where we are, but that message, I think, is sort of coming through. It was okay to good. It's around that kind of 7 mark. Lover to You said, it was good. The thing is, why didn't they have Jay go out to the ring and address the fact that his big brother cost him 3 title matches? They honestly made him look like a wimp. Imagine getting whooped by your big brother and completely forgetting about it like it didn't happen. Well, that's a fair point. I don't know that they forgot about it. I think you'll see him Friday. That's what I read into it. The fact he didn't go out there might be because he doesn't want to show his hand at the moment. He knows that Jimmy's not around on Raw. So he could have sent the message, I'll see you Friday. But maybe he doesn't want him to know that he's going to see him on Friday. So he can go out there and rant about it. But maybe it's better to just stay quiet and do something about it. So I kind of took it that way. Like, yeah, it happens. There's going to be a payback. And I would imagine that payback starts on Friday when Jimmy is going to actually be at the show. So I do get your point, but I would say just bear with it. Let's see what we get on Friday. Brahma Ball DHF said Sami also got his win tonight. It was a big dub. Yep. It was mentioned earlier, wasn't it? It was good for him and his momentum. He needed that. Justin said, WWE is throwing us curveballs, and I can appreciate that. CM Punk's injury was disappointing, but WWE and Triple H, it's a joke, relax, has done a great job making the road to WrestleMania interesting. I think I want to hear your thoughts. You are the GOATs. That's very kind, Justin. I'm not the GOAT. I'm just a fan like everyone else. But, thoughts on what about making the road interesting? I think that they have been forced into it. I think Triple H knows and has been through roads to WrestleMania enough to know what works, what doesn't work, what he would like to do. I think he's got enough knowledge to provide a very entertaining road to WrestleMania. But I think that the change of direction from the "we want Cody" thing has, it's got a big knock-on effect. All of a sudden now we got to find something else for The Rock to do. We still don't quite know what that is, but the plan was him versus Roman, and now that's not the plan. The plan was Cody versus Seth, and now that's not the plan. So, that change is a big change, because all of a sudden now we get, Seth versus Drew. So whatever Drew was going to do has now had to change. You change one thing at the top of the cards, so much changes underneath. So I will say it's unpredictable, and I will say there are curveballs. I will also say I think that's as a result of us, the fans, as much as it is Triple H. But I do think that Triple H is aware of how to book a fun road to WrestleMania. So I will give him some kudos as well. But look, at the end of the day, it's unpredictable, and I think going into WrestleMania, which is 5 weeks away, if that, that's exactly where we want to be. I don't want to sit here and know the card. I would hate to sit here and tell you the exact 2 days and what it's going to be and what we're working towards, because one of the biggest criticisms of Elimination Chamber was how predictable it was, but that had to go that way in order to get us where we were very obviously going. But right now, we don't know what the IC title situation looks like. We don't know what the main event of night one is going to be. We don't know kind of if we're going to get a multi-person match for the United States title. We don't know if it's going to be Becky versus Rhea, or Becky, Liv, Rhea, or as we said earlier, Becky, Liv, Rhea, Nia. Do you know what I mean? So we don't know what the tag situation is going to be. Is it going to be Judgment Day against Awesome Truth? How do DIY fit into that? I don't know. I mean, look, it's brilliant. I love sitting here and not knowing quite where we're going, because it's going to make a much more interesting 5 weeks or so. So, yeah, I agree. Throwing curveballs and the injuries and the changes and everything have kind of resulted in one of the most interesting WrestleMania builds I can honestly remember. So this feels like a good time to go over to the matches. So here you can see that we had 6 matches. 5 of them were ranked as good. Only 1 came out as great. And obviously at Elimination Chamber, all of those on the main card came out as great. So yeah, this one not quite hitting that same mark. I must admit I was surprised that the Sami Nakamura match just missed out, but it did just miss out. It was 98% good. So it was really, really close to going into that kind of great range. So it's right at the top end of goods. But yeah, Shayna Baszler, Zoey Stark was the worst received match. Then it was the Raquel squash of Chelsea Green. Nia Jax beating Liv was next. Cody, Grayson, main event, of course. Then that great Sami Nakamura match. But no doubt what came out on top. People really enjoying that street fight. And to be honest, I think this is fair. I think the only thing I would have done is maybe got Sami into the great category. But I can't really argue with it, to be honest. Top end of goods, low end of great. Either of those acceptable. So that's where we came out with the ratings. And actually, if we select all, you can sort of see how they are in comparison to the other matches. So these are the matches. The best one is still that Nia Jax Becky match. It was the first match that we rated. So I'm not convinced that if we was to watch it again, it would be quite as high as that. But that is still the top match that we've watched this year. Then you can see Ilya against Trick, which was amazing. Lyra against Roxanne was amazing. Judgment Day DIY was amazing. Bayley winning the Women's Rumble, right up there. So you can see some of the fantastic matches that we've enjoyed. But you've got to go like down here. Here's the Imperium New Day match that we enjoyed. So it's right at the bottom end of the great category. And then we go into all the good matches. So a lot of good matches there, as you can see. Lot of good matches. And then we go into these at the bottom. So that's all of the Raw, SmackDown, NXT matches and premium live event matches for the year so far. And there we can see all of them in a long list. And if we clip over to the shows, so you can see the top shows up there. And then we go into the great shows. Unfortunately, that is where Raw is currently going, right? And to be honest, I don't think it's unfair. I think that there's been a lot of really well-received shows. This one definitely was okay to good. It was okay to good, and that is where it's coming out. It looks like it's going to go into okay to good, kind of around that low 90s, high 80s, but that still does put it quite low down in our spreadsheet. There's just been a lot of really good shows recently. We know that WWE is cooking, so I don't think it's unfair that the show goes in here. And actually, look at where SmackDown went. Right now, it's going just above the SmackDown from Friday. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? That these two shows look like they're going to get about the same score. SmackDown on Friday and Raw on Monday kind of coming out about in the same place, which is just so random, but it is very interesting. So yeah, this is where everything is, and you can see Elimination Chamber going in here. So that's where Elimination Chamber has settled. So below the Rumble, below Payback from last year, but still going into that kind of great range, just below the middle, but about the middle of that great range, probably a few spots below. Again, don't think that's unfair. I think that it was solid. Maybe it just lacks some of them OMG moments to get it a bit higher up the list, but that is where it has settled. So yeah, really, really interesting feedback, really, really good stuff. And I love the fact that we do that, because I think it is really interesting to compare to everything else that we've had this year. Right, let's continue, shall we? So, Ryan said, Cody and Paul's segment, Drew and Roland's segment were both amazing. Timothy said, the question is, were they really suspended cops to get Cody arrested? Well, I don't think they can arrest, can they, if they're I didn't get the suspended thing. I said this last night. I think Heyman said they were suspended because he wanted to kind of make out that he hangs around with maybe, you know, dodgy coppers, not even good coppers. The kind of coppers he hangs around with are the suspended ones. So I think that's kind of why he said it, but they can't arrest if they're suspended. So I don't think they were there to arrest. I don't really know why they were there. If they're suspended, if they start beating up on someone on national TV, they ain't getting their job back. So it is strange. That bit was strange. I think it's probably best not to think about it too much. But yeah, I don't think they were there to arrest Cody. Brahma Ball DHF said it was really interesting. Drew is making the show look even more hilarious. Absolutely loved it. Eric said the power struggle of the bloodline might be upon us. Roman ain't The Rock. Both have phones now. I can see one telling Paul to do Summer that the other doesn't approve of. That's a really good shout, actually. That's a really good shout. Now that he's got two phones, he could really be getting pulled in a few different directions. That's a really good shout. Muse0042 said, I'm interested to see if Rhea being upset about Dom going after Gunther turns into a bigger rift between the two, or if it just gets patched up. Also, Heyman and Cody definitely was out of nowhere, but I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. People are saying, like, she seemed really concerned for him. Like, Judgment Day is going down some roads that she doesn't really agree with, and that is very interesting. So, yeah, you're right. Definitely a situation to keep an eye on. And people are still trying to read, like, what her relationship is with the Judgment Day. She's clearly still with them, but she never comes out with them, and we don't really see her with them backstage as much. So that whole dynamic is very interesting. It feels very fractured at the moment. Nando said, was working for 70% of it, but it felt missable. I wasn't dying to get home like I do for other Raws that I listen along to. Well, do you know what? That's fair. I think that it was it wasn't unmissable, but there are still things you need to be aware of. There were still moments that I think are interesting, like the Heyman Cody moment, the Seth Drew moment where Drew's saying, please don't get involved with the bloodline. I don't want them interfering in the match. I don't want them tainting my victory. You know, Liv going off on Becky is interesting. Sami having a look at Gunther is interesting. Like, there's things that definitely went down, but was there that OMG seismic moment? No, there wasn't. There was just lots of little bits in there that kind of furthered the story. So yeah, I think more than fair. Elder Sour, shout out to you. Said the first full show I've watched in a while. 7.5 out of 10. Good setups and progression of storylines to WrestleMania. I think that's more than fair. Rico said, Daze, between the IC and US titles, which one do you think could be a multi-man match? An appearance in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal on SmackDown isn't the showcase that talent want for WrestleMania week. Night 1 and 2 might be streamlined 18 hours of wrestling. There are still a few spots. Okay, let's try and work through this. So, between IC, US, which one could be the multi-man? Both, either. I wouldn't do both, but either. Honestly, I mean, if you go with the IC, you've got Sami, you've got Chad, you've got maybe Dominic, maybe you put Damien in there, right, which could be interesting, them working sort of together. Obviously, you'd have Gunther in there as well. Maybe Sheamus would go in there. I mean, that's a hell of a lineup. That's a great lineup. And then if you go on the other side, you could have Logan, you could have Kevin Owens, you could have AJ Styles, you could have LA Knight, you could have Randy Orton. Like, that's probably an even better lineup. So it's really difficult. The only thing I would say is that I don't think I would want Gunther's historic reign to end this way, but I also wouldn't hate it. Right. Ideally, I'd like someone to be able to work Gunther out and beat him in a singles match. But there is a bigger prize for Gunther, and that's the world title. So if he was to lose the Intercontinental without really being beaten, without being pinned, without being submitted, he drops the belt, but it's in a ladder match. You know, he can go after that world title, still claiming that he's not been pinned, not been submitted. That's good, really. Gets the belt off him, and he can move on, and he's still not been pinned, not been submitted. So that is very interesting. That is very, very interesting. Oh, when I say not pinned, not submitted, I mean not for the title, right? He didn't lose the title that way. I know he has lost. But yeah, he is in a very interesting situation. So I really don't mind if it's the IC title that has the multi-person match. But I feel like Logan's is probably the one that they will also look to do that in as well. I feel like you can easily make an argument for the LA Knight, AJ Styles, Randy Orton. I feel like you can easily make an argument for all of that coming together. If I was a betting man, I think I would say we do a multi-person ladder match night 1, winner faces Gunther on night 2. That was Triple H's thoughts idea on the Unseen video. I really like it. And then when it comes to the United States title, I think you could just do that as a straight ladder match. So we might sort of end up with 2, but actually Gunther's opponent is just a singles match. Or you could do it the other way. You could do a ladder match for the winner facing Logan. You know, you could go that way as well. And then do Gunther in a multi-person ladder match. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to answer. It's just which one do you prefer? In regards to the Andre Battle Royal, I agree. It is a shame that that is on the Go Home SmackDown. But I do also think that the Go Home SmackDown should be treated as a very special show. You know, Go Home shows are not that exciting, are they really? It's just final touches. I do like the way that they make that Go Home SmackDown feel like it's the curtain raiser, if you will. It does feel like it's part of the weekend. Like, it's got matches that matter. Like, we might defend a title on it, or there might be a match that just didn't quite make the cut that's a good feud that we do on that. Obviously, the Andre Battle Royal, which I wouldn't do on that show, but again, you know, it makes it feel important. So I do like the way they make that Go Home SmackDown feel important, but I agree the Andre Battle Royal really should be at WrestleMania. Right, Dave in Real Life said, an average show, to be honest. I wasn't expecting much going in. Can't wait for Friday to see if Cody shows up to face The Rock one-on-one. My score, 7 out of 10. TJ said, am I the only one that's annoyed that Cody can't seem to manage to match his robe with his tights? Also, he really has the best gear in wrestling. I can't say I noticed. The only thing I did notice was that his tights, I think, had a bit more black in than blue this time around. And I thought they looked kind of cool, being a little bit different. So, but I can't say I really paid that much attention to the robe matching the tights, but now you've pointed it out, I will notice it, and it will now bother me, so thank you for that. LS Dub said, I thought the final promo segment didn't necessarily go anywhere in particular. There was no distinct direction. Instead, general tension. Oh, is that a friend of Sergeant Slaughter? Instead, general tension was added to the Bloodline Cody feud. Also, if we end up getting Sami Gunther, then I think it's a giant misstep. I agree. The only thing I would say is that it's a credible opponent and the match would bang. But I don't need Sami to go after an Intercontinental belt again. Even if beating Gunther is a massive achievement, it shouldn't really be the focus for Sami. So, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those where if the title picture is not going to involve Sami, then he does need something else to do. And if it's going to be a banging match with Gunther, then it is hard to be down on it. But I'm going to be down on it anyway. I'm a big Sami stan, and I want him to be a world champion. I don't want him to be an Intercontinental champion again. So, but I don't know that it's going to go that way, to be honest. You know, I don't know if you saw the video that Chad Gable put out today. It will be in Unseen later. Really good. Really good. I mean, they are really getting behind the Chad Gable movement now. Felt like they weren't before Raw, but obviously we saw him talking to Adam Pearce. Now he's put a video out on social media. He is very much back in the mix. Dean said Raw was okay. Brady said, Cody the Bounty Hunter is amazing. Cody the Bounty Hunter. Brendan said, Radney Orton. Oh, big fan of Radney. So there's Radney Orton right there. Brendan, thank you. Edward said, I didn't watch, but I heard it was an okay show. Omar gives it 6.5. Said nothing happened, except probably hope for a mid-card ladder match and CM Punk in 2K24. Darice Fan said, I thought Raw was very good indeed this week. The segment between Seth and Drew was great promo work. The street fight was great. And the ending between Heyman and Cody was brilliant. The bloodline is poison, but Cody is the antidote. A very good Monday night. Rollins indeed. Chris said, Chelsea Green entertains me endlessly, and she's easy on the eyes. DM Hunk is really fun with his trolling, and no more nice Cody. If you smell what the American Nightmare is cooking. Oof. It's got 4 likes, that. People like that. I like that. Billy, hashtag King Kota movement, hashtag we want Dakota. Said, it was quite good, better than expected. Still with Rock and Roman, but Cody did great tonight. I'm just excited that my favourite, Dakota Kai, to do her return match. Hashtag King Kota movement, hashtag we want Dakota. And Daze, don't forget about your movement, the Daze movement. Thank you, my friends. I can tell you that Daze makes very little movement. I pretty much just sit in this chair. But yes, I think that I'm pleased it was better than you expected. And yeah, I think that I think it's only going to get better. You know, I think that we've just come off a bit of a lull because of Elimination Chamber. As I said, next week's Raw I've got high hopes for. Gio the Theo said 2 Cody Rhodes signed posters are way too expensive. Being there live was fun. And as I said, might be expensive, but cool though. So 2 signed Cody pictures, and Gio the Theo was actually at Raw, and I hope you enjoyed it, my friend, and it seems like you did. And that's actually got us back to where we were with the top one, and we've just got one more to go. So Jordan said, Sami winning is good in my opinion. Liv could be involved in the match with Nia and Becky. We spoke about that earlier. Next Monday with a stipulation of if Liv wins, she is in the match at WrestleMania. Looking forward to seeing who Gunther faces at WrestleMania, and the Cody bloodline stuff was meh, but SmackDown is must see. SmackDown is must see, and we will be live on Friday as we work our way towards what should be a monster episode of SmackDown. So a big thank you to everyone that's shared their thoughts to this. Really appreciate it. I'm pleased we were able to get through them all. As we said, a lot of chatter online today about Chad Gable with a little video that he's put out. You'll find that on social media, but it will be in Unseen later. And, of course, later we've got the NXT stream coming up as well. SmackDown coming up on Friday. We'll do another of these opinion videos following that SmackDown. And again, really appreciate you guys taking your time to share your thoughts. I hope there was some stuff in here that you found interesting. And on we go further along this road to WrestleMania. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. See you next time. Bye for now.